In this series, we will be reading the rules text for the tabletop role-playing game, Draw Steel. This episode covers the section on downtime, research, and crafting. Downtime Projects. As a team, you and your fellow heroes can achieve great things. But the time between adventures gives you a chance to pursue your own individual goals, uncover forbidden lore in ancient tomes, forge weapons of great power, build ships that can sail the skies, and more. Draw Steel's rules for downtime projects allow heroes to use their time during respites to obtain important information, make new equipment, and engage in other activities to support their adventuring. Tracking projects. You start a downtime project during a respite. You can start as many projects as you like, but you can't work on more than one project at a time during a respite. Eventually, you'll be able to hire creatures who can work on additional downtime projects for you. You track project progress on your character sheet. As you work on a downtime project, you might look over old books that you found in your travels, perform experiments, converse with experts and scholars, or work with tools to create something. Project prerequisites. All downtime projects have prerequisites you must meet before you can undertake them. Item prerequisite. Many downtime projects have one or more special items you must possess or obtain before you can start the project. For instance, you can't build an airship without first finding a wind crystal of quintessence, a rare and key component in that vehicle's construction. Other projects have a prerequisite that involves undertaking certain activities during the project process. Project source. To start a downtime project, you must have access to specific lore detailing how the project is to be undertaken. This can take the form of written information, a book, scroll, schematic, and so forth, an expert tutor with wisdom to share, a master artisan with skills to teach, a supernatural manifestation of the project's scope and secrets, or any other form of the director's determination. This project-focused lore is referred to as a project source. Not only do you need project sources to start a downtime project, but you must have access to those sources whenever you make a project roll for that particular project. See project roll below. Some project sources are relatively easy to find. Building a castle doesn't require tomes filled with ancient lore, but it's also not something every stonemason knows how to do. However, the location of the tomb of Ashria, the mummified protector of 100 slumbering sorcerer sovereigns, might exist only in a single tome that requires an accompanying adventure to unearth. The language with which project sources are set down or can be shared is chosen by the director. The sample projects below have suggestions using languages in Orden. See that section in Chapter 4. Background. Though you might be able to find a version of a source in other languages as well, whenever the director determines that a creature with needed knowledge can be used as a project source. Another hero can serve as this source of knowledge. However, They must use a respite activity to be your project source whenever you make a project role related to the project. Search for common project sources. If you need a project source for a particular project, ask your director if the source is common enough that it might be found in a substantial library, among a group of sages or guild artisans, and so forth. If the director says yes, then the next time you take a respite in a place with a library or access to creatures with the knowledge you seek, you can locate the project source you need as a respite activity. Project role. As a respite activity, see Respite in Chapter 1. The basics. You make a project role for one of your own projects. Alternatively, you can make a project role to contribute to another hero's project. A project role is a test with a special outcome that isn't divided into tiers. The characteristic used in the test is determined by the project. When you make a project role, the total, no matter how low, becomes project points that are accrued by the project. Even if you have a penalty on a project roll, the minimum total for the roll is 1. If you obtain a critical success, a natural 19 or 20, on a project roll, this is called a breakthrough, and you can make another project roll for the same project as part of the same respite activity. A downtime project is complete when it accrues project points equal to or greater than its project goal. The number of points it takes to complete the project, noted in each project's description. As you work on a downtime project, the director can add events that help form the narrative of your research, crafting, or other activities. These events might provide unexpected benefits or challenges as you work on your project to help make the journey as dramatic as arriving at the destination. See for the director. Project events below for more information. Project roll edges and banes. Since project rolls don't use success tiers, they don't follow the usual rules for double edges and double banes. If you gain an edge on a project roll, you add 2 to the roll as usual. But if you have a double edge, you add 4 to the roll. Likewise, you subtract 2 from a project roll that takes a bane, and you subtract 4 from a roll that has a double bane. Skills and project roles. You can apply skills from either the crafting or lore skill groups to project roles that directly relate to a downtime project. See skills in Chapter 9. Tests. For example, you could use the tailoring skill for project roles related to making a magic cloak, and you could use the history skill while attempting to research the location of an ancient battle where a magic crown was lost. At the director's discretion, you can also use skills from other skill groups, but a skill used for a project role must be directly related to the project. Language and project roles. If you know the language of a project source, you can make a project role without any issues. If you don't know the language of the source, but you know a related language, the project role takes a bane. If you don't know the source's language or a related language, the project role has a double bane. Guides. Heroes sometimes find guides, special books, schematics, knowledgeable NPCs, supernatural recordings, and so forth, providing important and easy to understand information relating to a downtime project. Each guide has a knowledge value and a connection to a specific project that greatly decreases the time required to complete the project. When a hero studies a guide as a respite activity, they gain the guide's knowledge value as project points toward its project. The guide can't be used with that specific instance of the project again, though it can be used for a different project of the same type. Guides are awarded at the director's discretion, usually as a tool that can be used to increase the speed of complex projects for campaigns with little downtime. For example, the Build Airship Downtime Project has a project goal of 3,000, requiring a fair bit of downtime. But if a hero finds a manual that describes how to craft an airship and grants them 1,000 or more project points toward the Build Airship project, the crafting time can be significantly reduced. A guide must provide its information in a language you understand for you to gain its full benefit. If a guide uses a language related to one you know, you gain only half the guide's knowledge value, rounded down, as project points toward your project. For the director, project events are story events that present boons and challenges to heroes as they complete research and crafting projects. These events are entirely optional. If your group prefers a game where the heroes simply work toward their goals by making project rolls, that's fine. But using these events can help a director inject more drama into the processes of research and crafting. When to use project events. Projects don't need an event every time a hero makes a project roll. If they did, the heroes would likely spend all their time trying to manage their projects and never do any adventuring. Instead, you as the director pick one of the following methods to determine when an event occurs during a downtime project. You can always switch up the method you use during a campaign, doing whatever you think works best for the current situation. Roll for event. If you want events to be a surprise for you as much as for the other players, then once during any respite, when one or more heroes makes a project roll, roll a d6. On a 6, an event occurs. This is a good option if you enjoy coming up with story on the fly during play. Event milestones. If you want to guarantee that events occur during a downtime project, use event milestones based on project points. When the project accrues a certain number of points, an event occurs the next time a hero wants to make a project roll. This approach works well if you want to plan your event in detail before it occurs. You can use the suggested event milestones table to determine when an event should occur during a project. Suggested event milestones. Project goal 30 or fewer, none. Project goal 31 to 200. One event halfway to the goal. Project goal 201 to 999. 2 events at 1/3 and 2/3 of the way to the goal. Project goal 1,000 or more. 3 events at 1/4, 1/2, and 3/4 of the way to the goal. whenever you want, whenever you think the heroes could use a little drama during a respite, throw in an event. This approach allows you to plan an event in detail when a downtime project starts, then deploy it at the most dramatic moment, or even throw it in during an encounter if you're feeling saucy. Deploying events. A project event occurs when a hero makes a project roll. You can roll for choose an event from the appropriate events prompts table, or use the tables to inspire your own events. Each event entry on the table is a narrative prompt written for you as the director, and which you can change and flesh out as you determine. Each event specifies whether it occurs before or after the project roll is resolved. Automatic breakthrough. If an event grants an automatic breakthrough on a downtime project, the project gains 20 project points, and the hero can make another project roll for the same project as part of the same respite activity. Crafting projects. Crafting projects enable heroes to create vehicles, supernatural treasures, and more. When you start a crafting project, other creatures can also work on the project, using their respite activity to contribute a project roll in order to get the work done faster. Unless a project has an event table of its own, the director uses the crafting and research events table for crafting project events. Build airship. When you start this project, you hire a crew of carpenters, mages, and shipwrights who work in the area where the project is undertaken, with these artisans building the ship for you. You can make a project roll whenever you are overseeing the project, which you might be able to do remotely through the use of magic or psionics. When the project is completed, you have an airship. You and any creatures you designate can operate the ship by touching the ship's wheel. During combat, a creature touching the wheel can use a maneuver to make the ship move up to 10 squares. The ship can be moved only once per round. Out of combat, the ship has a speed of 130 miles per day. An airship is an object, giving it damage immunity all to poison and psychic damage, and can take 200 damage before it is destroyed. If the damage the ship takes is not too severe, as the director determines, as long as you have access to materials that can repair the ship, you can restore it back to its original condition as a respite activity. Build or repair road. When you start this project, you hire a crew of masons, engineers, and guards who start work at the location where the project begins and build or repair the road for you. You can make a project roll whenever you are overseeing the project, whether you do so in person or remotely through the use of magic or psionics. The number of project points required to complete work on the road equals 10 times the road's length in miles. The goal is cut in half if you are repairing an existing road, or if someone else starts work on a second road project that connects to your project. When you complete the project, you earn renown among people in the area where the road is built, depending on the length of the road. Build or repair road renown. Length 50 miles or less. 1 renown earned. Length 51 to 100 miles. 2 renown earned. Length more than 100 miles. 3 renown earned. Time spent traveling between locations on the road is cut in half. Access to resources and knowledge is improved in locations along the road, giving you and your allies an edge on project roles to discover lore while you are in those areas. Craft teleportation platform. When you complete this project, you end up with a 3 square by 3 square teleportation platform activated by a supernatural password. The platform is permanently affixed to the ground in the location where you create it. Any creature with the password can use the teleportation platform to instantly teleport any creatures or objects on the platform to a location they know, including another teleportation platform whose supernatural password they know. You and any creature you designate upon completion of the activity can change the password as a respite activity. Each time the teleportation platform is used, the chance of it malfunctioning and teleporting creatures or objects on it to a random platform increases by 1% to a maximum of 50%. You can restore the platform back to its original condition and reset this chance of malfunction as a respite activity. Craft treasure. You can craft the items found in treasures in Chapter 13. Rewards. Each treasure notes its item prerequisite, project source, project role characteristic, and project goal. Find a cure. You research a cure for a disease, curse, or supernatural affliction, whose text states that it can be ended by the find a cure downtime project. If the affliction was caused by the innate feature of a creature, you need the remains of that creature or another creature of the same kind as an item prerequisite for crafting the cure. For example, you can research the cure for the affliction of a werewolf's accursed bite by studying the corpse of any werewolf, not just the one who did the biting. The number of project points it takes to complete this project is equal to 50 times the level of the creature who caused the affliction. If the affliction was created by an environmental or supernatural effect, that effect notes the item prerequisite and project points required to complete this project. When you complete this project, you craft 1 dose of an alchemical cure for the affliction. Once the project is completed, you can craft subsequent doses for the same affliction for half the number of project points required for the initial project. Imbue treasure. You can create leveled treasures by imbuing items with magic or psionic power. You must have a mundane version of the item you plan to imbue, such as a sword or shield, when you start this project. You can imbue any item 3 times. The first time you imbue it, you pick a first level enhancement. The second time you imbue it, you pick a 5th level enhancement. The third time you imbue it, you pick a 9th level enhancement. A hero using armor or a weapon can't benefit from an enhancement unless they are using a kit that includes the armor or weapon type, and their level matches the enhancement's level. If an enhancement has a Roman numeral greater than I after it, such as the phasing III enhancement. That enhancement can't be applied unless the item has all previous versions of the enhancement. This means you can't imbue armor with the phasing III enhancement unless it has the phasing I and phasing II enhancements first. The effects of numbered enhancements are cumulative unless otherwise noted. Enhancements are broken out by item type, armor, implement, or weapon and level. Each item type and level features a table showing the name, item prerequisite, and project source language of each enhancement. Imbued items take the magic or psionic keyword your choice and are part of any kit categories appropriate to the type of item, light armor, medium weapon, and so forth. Imbuing treasure with supernatural power as a downtime project typically means you undertake that project to make use of the treasure yourself. As such, all the features of imbuing refer to you as the user of the item. However, imbued items can be created for other creatures or created by other creatures and found as treasure. Imbue armor. Armor imbued with an enhancement grants you special benefits while it is worn. Additionally, when your armor receives its first level enhancement, it also grants a +6 bonus to stamina. A 5th level enhancement increases the stamina bonus to +12, and a 9th level enhancement increases it to +21. Sidebar: clothing as armor treasures. A hero who has a kit that provides no armor, such as the martial artist or sniper kit, can create and make use of leveled armor treasures that imbue mundane clothing with supernatural power. At the director's discretion, heroes who don't use kits, such as elementalists and nulls, can also benefit from such treasures. Imbue implement. Implements are jewelry, spectacles, orbs, staffs, tomes, wands, weapons, and other objects used by those who channel magic and psionic power to focus that power. You decide what object to imbue when you create an implement treasure, but it must be an object you can carry or wear. You must have a mundane version of the item you plan to imbue when you start this project. An implement imbued with an enhancement grants you special benefits while it is wielded. Additionally, when an implement receives its first level enhancement, it grants your magic or psionic abilities that deal rolled damage a +1 damage bonus. A 5th level enhancement increases the bonus to +2, and a 9th level enhancement increases it to +3. Sensors, conduits, elementalists, nulls, talents, and troubadours benefit from using implements more than the other classes in this book. Imbue weapon. A weapon imbued with an enhancement grants you special benefits while it is wielded. Additionally, when a weapon receives its first level enhancement, it grants your weapon abilities that deal rolled damage a +1 damage bonus. A 5th level enhancement increases the damage bonus to +2, and a 9th level enhancement increases it to +3. Sidebar: unarmed strike treasures. A hero who has a kit that uses unarmed strikes, such as the martial artist and pugilist kit, can create leveled weapon treasures that enhance their unarmed strikes by imbuing hand wraps, rings, shoes, or any other item worn on the body with supernatural power. At the director's discretion, heroes who don't use kits, such as elementalists and nulls, can also benefit from such treasures. Research projects. Heroes can undertake many different types of research downtime projects, which can involve seeking out new lore, improving existing knowledge with study, uncovering rumors or secrets, and more. Unless a project has an event table of its own or a special event entry, the director uses the crafting and research events table for research project events. Discover lore. If you want to track the location of a lost treasure, decipher a ritual, or trace the lineage of a royal family to find the next heir to the throne, you can start a downtime project to delve into whatever mysteries you seek to unravel. You might start a project to discover lore because the information can't be discovered through a single test. Or you could do so because you failed a test to recall information and now want to learn it through research. When you start a downtime project to discover lore, you choose the lore you want investigated and the questions you want answered. The director tells you if the lore you seek amounts to common, obscure, lost, or forbidden knowledge. The more esoteric the knowledge, the more project points are required to find the answers you seek. Discover lore project goals. Common knowledge, 15. Obscure knowledge, 45. Lost knowledge, 120. Forbidden knowledge, 240. Common knowledge. Common knowledge is generally easy to discover with a day or so of research. It's not known by every passerby and takes time to uncover, but with plentiful local sources for the information, you don't need to spend a lot of time searching. It could be that you need to question several members of a rumor mill to figure out who a noble is not so secretly courting. Or you might need to spend a few hours in a temple to find the particular religious text that carries a seldom used alternative name for a deity. Obscure knowledge. Obscure knowledge is known only to specialized sages and is typically of interest only to those scholars. As such, precious few tomes are written on obscure subjects. Finding the right expert to interview or the best book to read typically requires several days of research. Uncovering the details of a ritual used to open and close a portal to the Sea of Stars isn't easy information to come by. But there are people out there who know how to do it and who wrote the instructions down. Lost knowledge. Lost knowledge is so esoteric that even among a field's most dedicated scholars, there might be only one or two individuals who have dug deep enough to know that lore. Lost knowledge could come from a time so long ago that only a single text in a dead language now holds the lore you seek. Such lore often takes more than a week to hunt down. The location of a legendary steel dwarf's workshop is most likely lore that is lost, except for one map hidden in a private collection. Forbidden knowledge. Forbidden knowledge is lore that a powerful individual or organization is attempting to keep secret. Those who know the secrets speak of them in whispered codes after passwords are exchanged, and write texts using ciphers. Hunting down leads and making sense of them typically takes weeks. The location of the dagger that slit the throat of the god of death is hidden behind layers of encoded text and written in a dead language known only to that god's most devout followers. Go undercover. Going undercover to spy on a group of people is a cheap and easy way to find information you're looking for. Choose an organization when you undertake this activity. Completing this project grants you access to maps, knowledge about an organization's operations, or some other piece of knowledge that would be considered common or obscure. See the Discover Lore project. At the director's discretion, you must have a disguise, a signet ring, a special tattoo, or some other indication that you belong to the organization in order to start this project. Additionally, the director can decide that the knowledge you seek can't be gained through this project, but must be sought out by infiltrating the organization as part of an adventure. Complications. This project has its own special complications. The first time you complete this project for an organization, you have a 25% chance of being caught. Each time you complete this project again with the same organization, the chance of being caught increases by 25%, and the project goal increases by 30. If you are caught while going undercover, members of the organization pursue you ruthlessly as the director determines. Additionally, while you work to complete this project, you might be called upon by the organization to complete a task you might not want to do. Failure to complete the task leads to you being caught. You can avoid the task by fleeing the organization, but this prevents you from completing the project and makes it impossible for you to undertake this project again with the same organization. Hone career skills. You revisit your previous life to freshen up on the experience it provided you. When this project is complete, you gain an edge on tests made using the skills provided by your career. Learn from a master. When you seek to learn from a master, you choose the goal you wish to work on, as well as the benefit you would gain from it. The director tells you whether the master or the materials they've left behind are able to teach you what you want to learn. Learn from master project goals. Hone ability, 120. Improve control, 500. Acquire ability, 1000. Acquire ability. You gain one signature ability of your choice from the master's class, gaining a second signature ability if the master is of the same class as you. If the master is a tactician, you can gain the Strike Now ability instead. You can't gain this benefit again for the same class. Hone ability. You sharpen the effectiveness of one of your abilities of your choice. Choose between adding a +1 damage bonus to the ability or improving the distance of a ranged ability by 2. An ability can be honed only once this way. Improve control. You learn to use one of your heroic abilities more efficiently, reducing its baseline heroic resource cost by 1 to a minimum of 1. You can gain this benefit only once for any ability. Learn new language. When you start this project, choose a language taught by the project source. When the project is complete, you understand the language. Learn new skill. When you start this project, choose a skill taught by the project source. When the project is complete, you have that skill. Perfect new recipe. When you start this project, you choose a recipe for a specific type of dish. The item prerequisite for the project is the ingredients required, which depend on the recipe, and which might be difficult to acquire depending on the recipe and its place of origin. You gain a +3 bonus to the project roll if the recipe is one from your culture. When you complete the project, you can make 5 servings of food from the recipe as a respite activity whenever you have access to the ingredients. You and other creatures taking a respite with you can eat a serving of the food and gain its benefits. See below. A creature who eats a serving of food from a particular type of recipe gains one of the following benefits, which lasts until the creature takes another respite. Comforting. When the creature fails a saving throw, they can choose to succeed instead. This benefit then ends. Hardy. The creature increases their recoveries by 1 at the end of the respite in which the food is consumed. Supernatural power. The creature temporarily increases one of their characteristic scores by 1 to a maximum of 6. A creature can benefit from the food of only one recipe at a time and can't benefit from more than 1 serving of a recipe at a time. Other projects. Not all heroes want to craft or research during their time between adventures. Some might wish to build organizations, reconnect with family or friends, or just go fishing. Community service. When you start this project, you must be in a settlement or other location where people gather, and you must be in that same place each time you make a project roll for the project. You can undertake several community service projects at the same time, but each one must be in a different community. While undertaking this project, you provide help to people in need, doing odd jobs, tutoring life skills, cleaning streets or public spaces, finding lost valuables, and the like. The director determines the characteristic that applies to the project role based on the activities you undertake. When you complete this project, you receive a random consumable treasure of the director's choice from someone in the community as thanks for your hard work. Fishing, whether for sustenance, relaxation, or bragging rights, you've gone fishing, provided you are near a body of water. The project role for this project has the following changes. The project points earned by your roll represent the relative size of the fish or some other fish-like creature you catch. During each respite when you undertake this activity, you continue making project rolls until you obtain a Tier 1 outcome, indicating that a fish got away, earning you no points or a breakthrough. When you obtain a breakthrough, the director rolls on the fishing events table rather than you gaining points from the roll and making another project roll. When you've made your last fishing project roll for the respite, you can spend the project points you accrued on a reward from the tackle table. Any points you don't spend during the current respite are lost. Spend time with loved ones. You revitalize your spirit by spending time with people you love who you haven't seen in a long while. You must be able to communicate with those people to undertake this project or make project rolls for it. When you complete this project, your stamina maximum increases by 12 plus your level until the end of your next respite, and you can't start another spend time with loved ones project for a month. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this audio journey into the rules of Draw Steel. In our next episode, we will cover the section on rewards.